Hello guys, welcome back. You're up to episode 2 of the UK versus Videocast. We've got a short one for you this week. We've got a supporting character to show you. It's from the Underworld. Some of you may or may not know who this guy is. Here we go. Before we talk about the deck building aspect of it, seeing as we have a judge present, the ever-present Gary, would you just like to clarify for anybody who's not sure about this whole -1/-1 counters and the choices of the words have and gain?
This is important from a expanded rulebook perspective. So all the work Chad does behind the scenes to clarify rulebooks. If you were to just go by the base set rulebook, then the only phrase that matters is that the stunned characters cannot gain -1/-1 counters. So they lose them all when they become stunned normally, and then can't gain any more. However, in the expanded rulebook, it's explained that stunned characters can neither have or gain -1/-1 characters, -1/-1 counters. Now, this guy means they can. So, interesting things. First of all, it means that if they're stunned, you can give them -1/-1 characters, so they can't hide by being stunned. So when they recover again, they kick in straight away. It means that if you used -1/-1 counters to get the stun, then they're still going to have them until when they recover. Which means that if they started off as Dark Phoenix on 3/3 and then Thor zapped her, she's going to recover and stun straight away again. If this guy does get stunned, however, all the -1/-1 counters go away at that point.
Instantly. Cool.
So if you can protect him and you can keep him around, he can make all of your opponent's dudes a lot smaller. Well, if somebody else is making them smaller, he keeps them small. And can generate some interesting stun locks where very small characters just keep getting stunned until they quietly keel over and run away to the KO pile. So he has some interesting interactions. He doesn't turn up till turn 7, barring shenanigan. That could limit his usability. But if you want to guarantee that a little dude stays gone, tricks that get put out loads of -1/-1 counters will do the job.
Cool. So my question, I'll ask you this one. If you obviously you'd have to, the entire deck matters because you've got to play around with the counters in the first place up until the 7-drop. Is he a good enough 7-drop to play around with this ability, or is the 7-drop? Do you want to have won the game already by then?
Interesting. I think this is something you probably want to build around more. So this probably goes in your deck if you can't play Ghost Rider because you've not got enough good guys, can't play Black Kite, you've not got enough bad guys, and you don't really have like blue and yellow for Dormammu, but you're only really playing one Dormammu anyway. You probably want to play this guy. He enables stuff like Viper, and when you've got Viper in your deck, you probably want a couple of other Fems because you can play Femme Fatality. And Femme Fatality plus this guy means that if you're able to clean up the rest of the board, you've got your opponent just on like a blood clock, and they're not going to get out of it because they don't have a board. So he's only got 1 wound, but I think it's probably for the best he's only got 1 wound, because otherwise it's just like another prison like lock piece that you're just never getting out of. I think Mac was saying something interesting about like the Valkyrie Wasp combo. This keeps it going, and you only really have to perform it once, and then it just happens every turn. Your opponent's stuff turns face up and then gets stunned. So the only thing they've got is whatever they've recruited. But I'm sure Matt's going to talk more about that in a minute anyway. So at the moment, I'd want to see some more negative counter stuff, especially in like the evil factions, or perhaps mixed out between the two, because I'd like to get some team attacks in there as well. But what do you think, Matt?
I think like it's a good card. The 7-drop, it works quite well, but obviously like decks where you get like all of your bottom drops where work perfectly for the deck. So like your Spider Fems, all of your low drops, they're all accounted for. But then you got to the area where you couldn't really run Ghost Rider because you didn't run very many good characters. And then it's like Black Heart wasn't really working for the deck. Whereas this like fits in perfectly for Spider Fems. You want to like protect him. You've got Spider-Man that can do that. You've got your femme fatality, like you were saying. You build up your big like wall with all your goblin tokens. Obviously, this fits in quite well for that deck. But yeah, with the Valkyrie deck, it's quite good. Obviously, you can play him on your turn 7 and then wait, and then you get your turn 8. You can like wasp down their entire board to 8 counters, which is usually enough to stun any MC. And then if you get that lock, you've got your wasp in the front, you've got your Valkyrie, you can protect your character, hopefully, depending on what you're playing. And if you get the lock, it can end the game, which is quite interesting. But yeah, as you can see, it's 7-drop. If it was a 6-drop, I think which it's not, unfortunately, it would be a lot. It would be a nastier card because you could play it with your Ghost Rider. You drop down your 6.
You just splash this as like one of your only evil characters, and then your Ghost Rider's just even more stupid.
So they've obviously planned it quite well that it's the 7-drop
and it's evil.
And it's evil.
But I think it could be well positioned because Blackheart, with one of the cards that was spelled today that exiles characters that she KOs, and also just having Thanos back with his green ability could mean that Blackheart just isn't going to get his chance. It's just not going to happen. And so perhaps Nightmare is like your go-to big guy that you play more of, because you want to play like one Dormammu, but you don't really want to play more than that. So you probably want to play this as like your 2 or 3 of, and then you one Dormammu, and then you go from there.
And obviously it's got the flight, which Underworlds, they've got Blackheart and him, so obviously fits the same kind of pattern of protecting your back rows if you do use it as a wall. So like in the Mordo, you want to protect him at the back. You can put him in the front. If he's not really helping, apart from that, he can still block with the flight, which is quite handy. And you've got all your play tricks with your plot twists anyway, so that's useful.
I mean, there's a couple of. It's funny you mentioned Mordo. There's a couple of MCs that I think he potentially helps with. Obviously, Mordo is quite interesting because you can make their main characters look really silly, and then he goes squish, and they stay squished. And because you stun them on your turn with -1/-1 counters, you then get a free wound next turn when they recover. Great, so that's 2. And if you've got a yellow for Mordo on your next turn, even though they're stunned, you can still nail them with Mordo's level 2 ability, and they stay small. And they're done. That's it. You're over. Your main character's face down. He ain't getting back up again for the rest of the game.
Okay.
And then ironically, or interestingly, can you imagine this guy if you pull off a major Doctor Strange switch?
Yeah.
Loads of +1/+1 counters anywhere. Suddenly Doctor Strange goes, snap, you're all tiny and you're staying gone.
Yeah.
So in the right deck built to do it, I mean, he makes Captain Marvel and stuff like that with Doctor Strange look stupid. Just look stupid. Hera turns up and goes, I'm huge. You know, people turn up and go, I'm massive with all their +1. Hulk goes, I'm huge with my big one. Yeah, squish. You know, if you've got the flip sides of Doctor Strange's that are the spinning counters, Doctor Strange with this guy is potentially destroys certain decks. Just mocks anything with a -1. Anything with a +1/+1 counter build, Doctor Strange and this guy just goes, and you're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're playing this guy, though, you probably don't want to play Magneto because Magneto keeps your supporting characters from like recovering. So you probably want to sort of stay away from villains and go more towards terms like Matt was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't really want the anti-synergy in your deck. So that's pretty interesting that this would pull you away from something else. Whereas Magneto is probably one of the best like evil 6-drops. You probably don't want to play it with this, so that's quite interesting. But I do want to play this with Fems because Fatality, as we were saying, and also Viper, because as we can see those minus counters on the character, they're going to double at the end of our turn as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I've built a deck. So
And
You were
obviously,
and Satana keeps the board small, so they run out of people to actually nail Nightmare.
Yeah.
If you run lots of Fem, so it potentially becomes even more horrific. So I just think there are certain cards, and in certain decks, this card is the finisher.
do you think you might start seeing more like teched out daggers just to get around it? So you play your dagger, it removes the minus counters, and then you can't gain anymore.
If he explodes, yes. There are certain decks that might start trying to find a dagger, space for a dagger to protect themselves, just in case.
Yeah.
It stops certain abilities, like, is it Sister Ripley? Not Sister Ripley number 8. The I get put -1/-1 counters on myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check counters. I mean, yeah, they rely on Doctor Strange to switch them, but it can be quite good. She's actually pretty good with this dude as well. Have some counters, Doctor Strange it, and then on turn 8, you're not coming. Turn 7 onwards, you're not coming back.
Yeah.
So there are cards. The more you think about it, that can use him, but he's the finisher. He's the guy that basically just goes, you're at the point now where you're not coming back. So controlling decks where -1/-1/-1s are their primary source of control, he is the nail in the coffin. But you can't just throw him into a deck because he's just not as good as other 7-drop random throws. But I don't have a problem with that. I like to see cards that make you go, how do I make this guy obscene, versus I could just throw him into the deck and be done with it. It's kind of why I like the Cosmo reprint. It's gone from just put him in the deck and he does his thing, to certain decks now make him an absolute monster. Valkyrie decks are a horror show with him, and Dramatic Entrance is really strong with him. So, there's decks that can use the new Cosmo and make him just a real pain. But generally, he's not that great. And the more cards that are built around, the more interesting the format becomes. Because the build around cards have to do rude things. They have to be, when that hits the table and I've built my deck around it, everything just falls into place. And 37 is fine for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's good.
This is in a similar position as like Singularity MC and perhaps Ultron, in that we've not seen the rest of the set yet, so we don't know where power level really lies. And then this is something the same as with the Ultron and Singularity, is that every time a new set comes out, if this isn't good enough yet, we get to look at the new card and go, all right, okay, there's like another functional reprint of Fatality, but for a different faction. Like, okay, well, now Nightmare is definitely my 7 because that's my win condition.
Yeah. It's also, you've
Same as like-
got synergy with the Xenomorphs as well. So they do quite a lot of -1 counters. You've got the Acid Blood Xenomorph, you've got the Spitter and Chest Burst. So you can obviously be quite a nice drop on the 7. So if you're playing something like Queen, for instance, and you can't play their 7-drop then, he could fit in quite well there, because it would help. It's not exactly the strategy you're going for, but it's not a bad strategy to have in your back pocket if needed.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's got
a lot of the guys. A lot of the guys' nailings are just not going in the bin because they've all got like 2 and 3 wounds, and then you can't really afford to be playing off-color locations for Dormammu. So Nightmare is probably the best 7 they can play if they want to play a 7, especially if they want to go deep on those minus counters like you were saying. Perhaps they could splash for some other stuff to try and make that a stronger theme as well. But I like it. It's going to make some interesting rules questions, so I'm going to enjoy that.
Yeah.
Give me both. I can't
Also,
wait.
suppose cards like, if I'm going to introduce someone to the game, after they've played a couple of games and they've seen what counters do, I'm like, okay, look at this guy, what do you think of that? I'm just going to like, wow, that is crazy. So I like these kind of, it breaks the rule of the game. So like, Ghost Rider breaks the rule because it's out of combat stuns. This breaks the rule because this is something that has never until now happened. So this is a pretty big deal.
Right, does anybody want to add anything else, or should we just going to wrap this one up? Or?
Just possibly get people commenting about not just the card, but about other cards they want to see.
In general.
But just in general, anything that they feel that would work well with this guy or work well with, like any of the MCs that have been released so far. So like what they would want to see for like Singularity, or just gets a bit of conversation
More
going.
tokens.
It's not just more tokens. Like, more tokens works with like Spider Fans. It works with everything. It'd be sick. Let's
Obviously,
do this.
Squirrel Girl
Squirrel
does like
Girl.
pay one of each. Just put 7 1/1 squirrels in the front row.
So it should be like a balance like thing. So with Squirrel Girl, I don't know what resource it would be, but you look at your opponent's board, and then you put tokens out for the amount that they have. So obviously it's bad if you start with it, and it's good if they start coming back. So like if they've got like a massive field, it gives you a way to kind of get back into it. I think that'd be quite a nice little effect.
Cool. Well, there you go, guys. Any ideas on what Matt and Ashley have just mentioned there? Please feel free to comment below, either in the YouTube comment section or on the Facebook post once it is shared on Facebook. Yeah, I was kind of thought like Gary was gonna spurn into this wealth of wisdom on Nightmare, and then when he didn't, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah,
If you had told me in advance, I'd have been ready to go.